and rivers that locals never dare to approach at dusk. That place is Papua New Guinea, a land not far from modern Australia. A land not far from modern Australia, yet seemingly belonging to another world. Do you believe there's a place on Earth where people not only tell stories of dinosaurs, but also insist they've seen them with their own eyes? Do you believe they've seen them with their own eyes? A land where glowing streaks fly overhead at midnight. Strange roars. This is a land where glowing streaks fly overhead at midnight. Strange roars echo from deep forests, and rivers locals dare not approach at dusk. And rivers that locals never dare to approach at dusk. That place is Papua New Guinea, a land not far from modern Australia. A land not far from modern Australia, yet seemingly belonging to another world. A world of unsolved mysteries. A world of unsolved mysteries. Today, you will delve into dense jungles, wading through gloomy rivers, and stepping into strange tales you've likely never heard before. Ropenfat, the glowing winged ghost. Ropenfiles, the glowing winged ghost. If you ask the people on Umboy Island, an island deep within the jungles of Papua New Guinea, if you ask the people on Umboy Island, deep within Papua New Guinea's jungles, what frightens them most when night falls, they won't mention wild beasts or ghosts. Instead, they'll whisper about a creature flying through the night sky that glows and glows. People call it ropen. The name in the local language means flying rope. The name in the local language means flying rope. It sounds gentle, but what they describe is not pleasant at all.
They say ropen resembles a giant bat, with wide wings flapping like canvas, a long forked tail, and emitting a flickering orange-red light like embers as it glides over forests or swoops down to rivers.
And emitting a flickering orange-red light like embers as it glides over forests or swoops down to rivers.
As if hunting fish. Others vividly recall a dry shriek echoing right after the light vanished into the deep forest.
A dry shriek echoed right after the light vanished into the deep forest. Some say it was the last sound they heard before their companion disappeared.
Before their companion disappeared. For many tribes, ropen is not just a creature but an omen. Every night, people light fires around the village.
Every night, people light fires around the village, not just to scare away wild animals, but also to keep that light outside the forest's edge. Children are told if they see the light flying overhead, to bow down and not look up. It sounds like a campfire story, but what caught researchers' attention is that these stories are told in different regions by people who have never met, yet the details are strikingly consistent. Yet the details are strikingly consistent. In 1935, the famous entomologist Evelyn Cheeseman recorded this strange phenomenon.
She recorded this strange phenomenon in her expedition diary. She described bizarre glowing spots flying over the mountain range at night.
She described bizarre glowing spots flying over the mountain range at night. Unlike fire, lamps, or bioluminescence, Cheeseman was not easily convinced by wild tales. With tens of thousands of specimens she collected for major museums, all her observations were highly respected in the scientific community. Decades later, an American investigator
Also traveled to Papua New Guinea to investigate. After many interviews with locals, he found that almost all described a flying creature with a forked tail.
Glowing in the night, often appearing near rivers or dense forests at dusk. Some claim the light moved purposefully, circling, swooping low, then soaring high.
Circling, swooping low, then soaring high, unlike any natural phenomenon they knew. Whitcomb hypothesized that ropen could be an ancient similar to pterosaur, the flying lizard that lived alongside dinosaurs. According to him, not all prehistoric species untouched, like a surviving fragment of the Jurassic period, still living quietly to this day. Of course, not everyone believes this hypothesis.
Many scientists suggest the creature locals saw is actually a flying fox.
With a wingspan over 1.5 meters. In low light conditions, coupled with fear, a large bat could easily be mistaken for a strange creature. Furthermore, the flickering light could be caused by methane. The flickering light could be caused by methane gas, bioluminescent bacteria, or moonlight reflecting through fog. Bioluminescence in nature is real. Bioluminescence in nature is real. There are fish at the bottom of the sea,
insects in the forest, and even fungi that can emit light.
Even fungi can emit light. So why couldn't there be a glowing flying creature that we haven't yet recorded? So why couldn't there be a glowing flying creature that we haven't yet recorded? In biology,
isolated areas like the deep forests of Papua are called evolutionary time capsules.
Allowing some ancient species to survive without extinction. With rugged terrain and many forests untouched by human footsteps,
Papua New Guinea could very well be one such place. So, what is Ropen? Is it a giant bat, an unexplained,
or merely a product of imagination and darkness? No one has a definitive answer, but if you stood by and saw a silent streak of light fly overhead, remember, some lights are best not to follow for too long. Iguanodon Papua shadows of the Cretaceous period. People still believe dinosaurs went extinct tens of millions of years ago. But then, in the dense jungles of Papua, there are stories that shake that belief. In March 2004, in a town near Chapao, residents panicked, reporting a strange creature appearing in the area. They said it was over 3 meters tall, gray-bodied, dog-headed. It was destroying everything. Trees were felled, farms ruined, and at least 3 dogs were killed by it. In a later interview, she described it as the size of a large tank, moving on 2 legs, and her eyes when recounting it
did not seem like someone joking. Armed police were dispatched. 6 officers with M16 rifles entered the forest.
6 officers with M16 rifles entered the forest. Some said the creature was shot down, its body taken elsewhere, but then everything fell silent. No photos, no conclusions. No photos, no conclusions, only rumors and growing curiosity. Based on the description, many believe this creature resembles
a herbivorous dinosaur that lived during the Cretaceous period. They could walk on 2 legs, had long tails, and were of moderate size.
hundreds. Some fossil reconstructions look quite similar to the villagers' descriptions. Of course, the hypothesis of living dinosaurs. Some suggest it could be a mutated giant crocodile or an undiscovered reptile. Some even suspect it's the product of
something escaped from a secret facility built in remote places like Papua. But what makes the story even more intriguing is that this wasn't the first time. In 1999, at Lake Murai,
wading along the shoreline. It was as long as a truck, with rough, scaly skin, a crude tail, sweeping across the lake.
A prehistoric creature that might have survived to this day. So what makes such stories persist? Perhaps because dinosaurs are not just ancient animals. They are also symbols of untamed power and mystery. In a world where humans think they've discovered everything, the existence of a large, uncontrollable creature is what makes people believe isn't evidence, but a feeling that a part of nature still defies all formulas, still lies beyond human reach.
A fragment of wilderness remaining in the modern world. So if someone asks, do you believe dinosaurs are extinct?
The answer isn't just yes or no. But have you ever walked through a forest where all sounds suddenly fall silent and the ground beneath your feet? If not, then perhaps you don't truly understand why such stories never disappear. Mount Bosavi Crater, that a kingdom of unknown creatures.
Mount Bosavi Crater Baus, a kingdom of unknown creatures. There are places that seem not to exist on real maps, yet harbor an entire undiscovered world.
Mount Bosavi Crater in Papua New Guinea is such a place.
About 200,000 years ago. Over time, it quietly extinguished, the crater collapsed and was swallowed by the green forest.
No trails, no villages, no human presence. Almost this entire area has been forgotten by the modern.
A group of scientists, biologists, and filmmakers from the UK and US decided to venture into this forgotten land.
They collaborated with the BBC for an expedition filmed as a documentary, with a simple yet captivating question.
What lives inside Mount Bosavi Crater? The answer stunned the world.
The expedition discovered over 40 new species, creatures previously unrecorded in any scientific document. subterranean streamfish, spiders larger than a human palm, and most notably, a giant rat so big it seemed to...
That rat was nearly 80 centimeters long, covered in thick, sleek grey fur.
Observing as if we were the strangers invading its world. They named this rat the Bosavi woolly rat. And the interesting thing is
what locals had been telling for years. Before the expedition, there were stories of puppy-sized rats living in the forests around Bosavi.
Living in the forests around Bosavi. Some even claimed they were strong enough to bite children if left alone.
But dismissed them, thinking they were just fabricated tales. But when faced with such a creature in real life, everything that seemed absurd suddenly became strangely believable.
Everything that seemed absurd suddenly became strangely believable. Not just rats. Inside that giant crater,
Bird species never before recorded, along with an entire ecosystem almost completely isolated from the rest of the world. It seemed
like a separate world, untouched by humans and unweathered by time. Scientists call Bosavi an evolutionary treasure trove.
Scientists call Bosavi an evolutionary treasure trove. Everything here has a pristine appearance, sometimes looking unlike any species we've ever known. And what puzzled them most is that if in just a short time so many new species were discovered, how many more are hiding under those dense canopies? They might be harmless.
Modern imagination isn't enough to conceive them. Not just a biological matter, this area is also linked to colorful legends.
Framed. In the indigenous culture of Papua, especially around Bosavi, there are stories of entities called masalai,
capable of transforming into wild beasts or disappearing in sacred waters. Locals believe the forests belonging to masalai are places without the consent of the ritual keeper. Many such forests coincide with undiscovered biological areas.
This makes one rethink how ancient people approached the world. Perhaps the stories of deep but a way for indigenous people to protect special ecological zones, not with fences but with reverence. Today, the expedition
carrying countless specimens and valuable data, but for those who ventured into that crater, the journey was not merely a scientific mission. It was like stepping through a time portal, entering a pristine world untouched, a place where time stands still.
a place the modern world still cannot fully explain. And who knows, as we sit here listening,
a creature might still be silently moving beneath the canopy. Not a legend, nor a living fossil, but simply
bioluminescent creatures of the deep sea. If the strange creatures in the deep forest amazed you, then imagine what lurks beneath the dark ocean around Papua New Guinea.
Then imagine what lurks beneath the dark ocean around Papua New Guinea. There's a place far from the mainland,
where waves crash against Manus Island, the northern island of this country, where locals still whisper about a strange phenomenon silently occurring at night. On moonless nights, when the
people have often seen flickering blue streaks floating across the water. Initially, some thought it was offshore fishing boats or lights from patrol vessels.
But sometimes as if swimming, sometimes blinking like a breath, and sometimes vanishing as soon as someone tried to approach.
Where no one dares to dive. Some researchers suggest it could be an unrecorded deep-sea creature with bioluminescent but a signal of something yet unnamed. In the densest jungles of Papua, maps still leave blank space, considered the land of unnameable forces. One such place is near the Star Mountain Range, where the boundary between nature and the mystical becomes incredibly blurred. From generation to generation, there are lands locals call by a simple name, the place no one dares to enter. A sound like wind whistling through a brass pipe, sometimes low, sometimes high. For a long time, that area has been abandoned. No one builds houses, no one hunts, and groups who entered the forest never returned. And if anyone was lucky enough to come back, they remembered nothing or repeated meaningless phrases for the rest of their lives. To mysterious lights beneath the deep sea. This place is like a half-open door to prehistoric. Perhaps we will never catch Ropin or photograph an iguanodon. But perhaps what's important isn't proof, but retaining a sense of wonder when faced with the unknown. Because it is this very unknown that makes this world vibrant, mysterious,